Hello guys, in this video I'll be talking about authentication in Mernstack application. Let us first look at what we have. We have the home page that do not have anything. We have login page where registered users can log in to their account, and after login they'll be redirected to the home page again. We have the register page where new users can register their accounts. If the registration is successful, an email verification link will be sent to their email address. We also have the page where users can request for a new email verification link in case they do not get the earlier sent one. So let me explain the code before I demo it. I use the Mernstack, which is MongoDB database, Express, and Node.js on the backend and React on the front end. On the backend, let's go to the backend side before I start explaining. On the backend, I use Bcrypt. I use Bcrypt for hashing and comparing of password. I use cookie parser for cookies that are generated through JSON Web Token. I use CORS for cross-origin resource sharing, .env to keep secret keys. I use Mongoose to communicate with my MongoDB database. I use NodeMailer for sending mail. This is NodeMailer. I use it for sending mail. NodeMon for restarting of the server whenever there is changes in my code. So in my index, my entry file, which is the index.js, I imported cookie parser express. This is my database connection. I imported CORS, which is cross origin resource sharing. I imported my route here. This is the app. I initialized the app here. I created a middleware for CORS so that it's going to allow cross origin resource sharing with this particular URL. And I also add the credentials through. I added allowed headers. So I also use this middleware for also the cross origin resource sharing. These are other middlewares that I use: the cookie parser, Express JSON, and Express URL encoded, which is extended through. This is the route to the whole job. Then I happen to declare the port here. When the port is in the .env, it uses this one, and when the port cannot be found in .env, it falls back to 4400. Then I started the app here so that it can be listening. So in my utils, I have the NodeMailer code and also the JWT code. This is the NodeMailer code. The NodeMailer code, I created a function to be sending mails which take in the email and the link. So this is the function that I created to be sending emails. It takes in the email and the link. So I created the transporter using NodeMailer to create the transport. So, and it's going to take in some sensitive parameters, which host is there, port is there, secure service, auth, and this one TLS, detected unauthorized source. So all these ones are already saved inside my .env file. So, and I use the process.env to pick them up to access those saved something inside the database. So after I created the transporter, I now use the transporter to send the email with this following code. So I send email from this one, my email address. So I'll send it to the email. This is the email that with this function taken as parameter at the top. So this is the subject, and this is the subject that is going to display to the user, and this is the body of the mail. So, and if there is an error, I log the error to the console. This is my JWT verification code. I created a generate token function which takes in the response, the user ID, and the user email. So I created the token using the user ID and email as parameter. Then I use my JWT secret to create it and set the expiring time. So after creating the token, I send the token as a cookie to the header. So, and I set HTTP only to true so that I won't allow JavaScript to be used to manipulate it on the front end side the way I can manipulate it. So, and I also set same site none, which when is the going for real production is going to have changed it to same site street like this. So and from there I console log, I log the error to the console. There is an error. Then after creating the access token at the top, I call the access token here. I collect the token so that I can use it to authorize user based on different routes. So this function takes in three parameters, which is the request, the response, and the next. So it's going to call this next after everything goes through, and if it doesn't go through, it's going to return with a message that please log in to proceed. So when getting the token, if the token is not there, I return with this message that please log in to proceed. That means there is no logged in user. So when we found the token, so I've just verified the token using JSON web token again. It takes in the token, takes in my secret to verify it. So after taking it, the third parameter is a callback function which can be either an error or a success response. So the error, if there's an error, I return with this message that is an invalid token, and if there is no error, I just equate the user from the request to the user. So then I call the next function. So in case there is an error, I log the error to the console. So I export the two functions so that I can use it in other files. This is my route which takes in all the endpoints that we are going to be using. We have the login endpoint, register endpoint, we have the verify email endpoint, we have the logout endpoint, and the resend email endpoint. So after that, let's check my model. We have the token model where it's going to take in the token, and the user is going to store it inside the database, and it's going to have an expiring time of 1800 milliseconds. So then I also have the user model which stores the email, the first name, the last name, the password, and also maybe the person is verified or not. At initially is going to be false. So that one is for email verification. So let's go to the database connection. This is my database connection. So I imported the mongoose for to interface with my MongoDB database. I also imported the .env package so as to use the .env file to save my secret keys. So this I create a function which is .constdb config, which I use mongoose to connect with my database. I use the connect method which takes in my URL params, the URL params for connecting to my database. Then if the connection succeeds, then I use .then and put in a callback function that says that logs MongoDB connected to database successfully on the connection string. So and in case there's an error, I cache the error and console log the error to the I log the error to the console, and I export the database. That's how I was able to import it in my index.js file here. So let's go to my control panel, control folder. So inside this control folder, I have the user login, the logout, the user register, resend email, and verify email logic here. So first let me show you the user register logic. I receive the email, the first name, last name, password, and confirm password from the body of the request. So I check if they are all empty, or if anyone is empty, then I return with this message that all fields are required. So the user is going to fill the necessary field. So I also check for unwanted characters so that there will not be code injection into my database. So I return with this message if there is an unwanted character. I return with invalid input in first name, last name, email address. I check for valid email address. If your email address that you are inputting is not valid, I return with an invalid input for email. So I also check for strong password. I am using regex to check all this. So If the password is not strong, I return with password must contain at least one special character, one lowercase and one uppercase letter. Also, it must be minimum of 8 characters and maximum of 12 characters. So this is what this particular logic is doing here. So after that, I check if the password and the confirmed password matches. If it doesn't match, I return with a message that password do not match, so that the person is going to make sure that the password matches before going forward. So then after that, if the registration, if the new user passes all this stage, comes to me checking if the user already exists using the email address, because I don't want a situation whereby two people will be using the same email address. So I look into my database and check if there is anybody using that email address. If I found someone already using that email address, I return with this message that email already chosen, so that the new user can change the email address. After that, if the person scales through that place and it's a unique email, I hash the password using bcrypt. I hash it with 10 as my salt. So then after hashing my password, I create the new user and save it inside the database. I save the email, the first name, the last name, the password as the hashed password. So now I destructure the user here to remove the password. So going forward, I generate token because I want to verify the email address of the person, so that the person, I'll be quite sure that the email address is the email address does exist. So I generate a token using crypto. Crypto is an inbuilt module in Node.js. So after creating a verification token, I save it inside my database, the token collection. I save the token and I save the user along with it, so that then after that I generated a link which comprises the front end page that goes to the verification page of the front end, then with the ID of the user and the token. So I send it with I send it with NodeMailer, using which takes in two parameters, which is the email and the link that is going to be sent to the email. So this verified email I've already created inside my utils here. So after that, if that one goes through, I return with a message to the new user that I called the first name of the new user. Your account was created successfully. Please check your email for email verification. And in case there is an error, I console log the error and return with that message to the front end. So after creating the user, this is the logic that we use to verify the email. So in verifying the email, I receive the user ID and the token using the request.params from the front end. Then I check with the user ID if the user exists inside the user collection. If the user does not exist, I return with user cannot be found. So after returning with that one, then if the user exists, that means I also need to check for the token, if there is token, or maybe the token has expired or not, because I set 1800 milliseconds for the expiration of the token. So I check the token collection using the token that comes from the params, and use it to check if there is token. If there is no token, I return with token not found. That's 404. Then if tokens is found, then I update the user by setting this verified to true from false. So after updating the user, in the process of updating the user, if there's an error, I throw the error verifying user. So if there is no error and the verification was successful, I will have to delete the token inside the database. So I found the token and I delete it. So after deleting it, I return with this message to the front end: email verified successfully. I return with that message, and in case of error, I log the error to the console. So that's the code for email verification. For resending email, I have this code. I collect the email address from the front end. I check if there is no email. So I check if the email space is empty. If it's empty, I return with this message, and if it's not empty, I move forward to check for unwanted character. So I want to ensure that it's a valid email that's been sent. So after checking, I now need to check if the user exists. So if the user does not exist, I return with this message that email does not exist. So after that the email exists, then I will find the user. After finding this user, I will check if the user is verified. So if the user is verified, then I will return with this message that user is already verified. So there is no point sending you a verification link again. So if the user is not verified, then I move forward to check if the user already have maybe the user already have a token inside the database. If there is no token, then I will need to generate the token. So I use crypto again to generate the token, calling it verification token. So and I save it inside the database as normal using the token and the user ID. I match it together so that I will be using it for the verification when the time comes. So and I generate the link to be sent to the user to the user's email address using the front end part and also the user ID plus the token. So and I send it using node mailer, which takes in the email address and the link. So after successfully sending that mail, I send this message to the front end to be displayed to the user. So in case of there's any error, I return with this message, something happened. So let's go to the user login logic. In the user login logic, we have the email address and the password coming from the body of the request. So we check if the fields are empty. If any field is empty, I return with this message, all fields are required, so that we don't collect empty string and save. So then we move forward to check if the email is a valid email address. If it's an invalid email address, I set invalid format in email field. So then after that, I check for the length of the password. If the length is too much, I return with a message. If it's too short, I return with the same message. So after that, I check if the user exists inside the database. If the user does not exist, I return with an invalid credentials. So also I check for the validity for of the password. Maybe the password is the same thing as the password saved inside the database. If it's not the same thing, I return with an invalid credentials too. So after that, when the user satisfies that two conditions, then I need to check if it is a verified user, because it's only verified user that want to give access to login. So I check if there is a token inside the database first. So if token exists, then if token does not exist, then I generate token and send to the user. I save the token here and I send it to the user so that the user will need to verify his account, and we are going to return with this message and end it there. After this code, that means there is token saved already inside the database. The token has not expired. So I'll just fetch the token using this link and also sending the link to the user using the verify email function that I created inside the utils there. So also I will now return with this message that user, please check your email and verify your email address. So after that, that means if the user that is trying to log in is scales through this place, that means the user exists. So if the user exists, then I'm going to fetch the user using the cons user at the top. Then I will now destructure it, removing the password from it, and I send the others. So after removing the password, I need to generate access token. So in generating the access token, I use this generate token function that I already created inside the utils, and which is taking the response, the user ID, and also the user email. So when that one is successful, then I will go back to the front end with user fetch successfully and display the user, so that the front end can display the information of the user to the user. So then if there is an error, I log the error to the console and I return with this message, something happened. So let's look at the logic for logout, which is a very simple logic. I get the cookie from the request.cookies. So if inside that cookie, if there is no access token, then I will return with this message, no access token. So that's error 404. So if there is access token, then in order for a user to be logged out, that means we have to clear the cookie. So I'm going to clear the cookie. It's not all the cookies I want to clear. I want to clear the particular cookie that I created, which the name is access token. So and I'm going to set all the same thing that I set at the when I'm generating the token. I set it here when I'm clearing the token. So after that, if that one is successful, I return with this message, logged out successfully. So and if in case there's an error, I log the error to the console, I return with this message. So and I export all these function that I created here, the logic, I exported everything. That's that for the server side. So now let's go to the front end side. On the front end side, we have the verify email, verify.gsx, which is used to verify the email address. Inside this place, we just have the handle verification. So when the user clicks on the link, it's going to come to this place. So we set loading on the screen. So in order for us during that loading time, we want to confirm if the user is part of is inside the database and all the logic on the backend. So what we just do is we just call the backend, we call the API and attach the user ID and the user token with it. So when we now send the API, we make it the call to the API, it's going to send us a response which is going to be a JSON response. So then if the response is successful, then we set verify email to be true, which is at the top. This verify email was already false. We set it to be true. So when it's true, we post this message, then we are going to return. So then if it's false, we post this message and return, and if there's an error, we display this error. So what we now do next is on the page we have conditions, three conditions. We have the loading condition, we have the verify email, and we also have when the situation whereby the verify email failed. So those are the three things that will determine what's going to happen on this page. So when these two things are not done, the loading is set to be true. So whenever somebody comes to this page, will be the page will be loading and the logic will be going on behind the scene. So when we have a successful message, we stop after response from the API, we stop the loading. So after stopping the loading, this is what we are going to do. If the success is true, then we follow this one, and if it's not true, we follow this one. So that means if it is true, we set verify email to true. After setting verify email to true, this condition holds. This condition of verify email holds, and this one is displayed. Email verification successful. You can now log in. And we put the login button there whereby you can click and go back to the login page. And if that condition is not true, then verify email will still be false. And this page is going to display this verification field. So that's that. So this one is for sending email again. So we receive the email from the body. So and at the top we make an API call to the backend. So we have for the register, we also have for the login, and this is for the home. So that's that about that. So after this one now, let me demo the project for you guys so that you can see what I have built. So this is the page. So and let me show you my database. This is the database and nothing inside the database. The token also, there is nothing inside the token. So when I do the registration now, you see that the registration is successful. We'll find the user here. So let's go to registration. Let me do registration of myself. Ayodej. This is my email address. I put my email address. I put my okay. Let's go by first putting an invalid character inside this place. I will now put same invalid character here. I will not have email format. I will just have a password that is not strong. I will now say So I have the same thing. So you see, if I click on register, it's going to say invalid input for the first name. If I remove the invalid input for the first name and I click the register again, it's going to say invalid input for the last name. So these are validations that we've done. So if I click register again, it's going to say invalid input for Gmail. If I put in the correct Gmail, so and I try to register again, it's going to say password must contain at least one special character, one lowercase letter, and one uppercase letter. Also, it must be minimum of 8 characters and maximum of 20 characters. So if assuming I want to make that condition true now, and I put a very strong password and I click on register, so the next thing is going to say password do not match. So that means password must match before I can go forward. Now, since I have every field correctly filled, then let me click on register and let's see what happens. Password do not match. Let me check the password again. So let's click it again and see. So it's loading. Let's see what it's going to bring. Then see Ayodeji, your account was created successfully. Please check your email for email verification link. Link expires in 15 minutes. So let's go to my email address and let's see if the verification is going to be successful. So this is my email address. See the verify your email and message already sent. So this is the link. When I click the link, it's going to take me to the, so you can see now, you see loading, then email verification successful. You can now log in. So if I click on this link, if I click on this login, it's going to take me to the login page for me to log in. So on logging in now, let's go to let's go to the, what's it called? Let's check the database first. So if I refresh this user, you will see that the user has been created and is verified is true. The token will have been deleted now because I already verified the email. So we have the user now. Okay, let me do another registration so that I can show you that the token was created. So let's go back to register. Let me choose another name. Okay. So let me use another email address, votinggivers@gmail.com. Let me add my, so I have it filled. So if I click on register, let's see, it's loading. So see, Adenike, your account was created successfully. Please check your email for email verification. Link expires in 15 minutes. So let's go to the database. You see, if I refresh this database now, you will see the new registration, email, first name, last name. So you see that it's verified, it's set to be false here. So and let's go to the token. You are going to see the token. This is the verification token saved inside this place. So now when I get the user verified, you see that this token will be deleted. So let's check our email address and see what's going to happen. Maybe it's going to, can you see now that the email has been sent to this email address? So let's click here to verify your email and see what's going to happen. Can you see now, email verification successful? You can now log in. So if you click on this one now, it's going to take you back to the login page. And if you go to, you come to this place and see, can you see now it has changed, it is verified to true. And also let's check the token. You see the token is no more there, so everything is going on fine as expected. So now let's log in with our user. So login is going to successful now because we are already fulfilled user fetch successfully, and it has redirected us to the home page. So and it's going to change the displays from register and login and change it to log out, because already we have our, let's inspect, we have our access token stored inside this our, inside the header. So let me show you here. Let's go to application. Can you see it's saved inside the cookie, and it's not, it do not allow, it's only HTTP only. I'll set it to true so that no, you cannot use JavaScript to manipulate it in the front end. So also we don't have it saved inside the local storage. So anytime we need it, the request is going to attach it to what is going to send to us on the back end. So that's that there. So far we have that there. We are going to remain logged in. So and we have our user stored inside this our local storage using the Redux toolkit as management and store management. So we have the user, this is the user ID, this is the email address, the first name, created at email, first name, everything is already saved here. So when we log out, when we click on this logout, this one will be removed here, and also the cookie will be removed here. So for example, now if I click on logout like this, you see it's going to log the user out. Can you see log out successful? The token has been removed, and if you look at the local storage, the user is no more there, and this page has changed from logout to login and register. So that's what we expect. So the only thing that I've not tested now is a situation whereby the user is not verified and he wants to log in. So to test this, I'm going to change this true to false. So you see, let me update it. I'm going to change it to false. So let me now come to login. I want to log in as Ayodeji Adebolu again. So I put my password like this. It's going to, okay, let me put wrong password. I use the invalid credentials. So it's now displaying the message. I've rectified that error there. So let me put correct password now and click on login. Let's see. You see, please verify your email address. It has generated another token for me now. So if I come to this place, you see the token there. It has generated another token. So peradventure, maybe I want to try to press it one more time. It's going to tell me again, Adeyodeji, please check your email address and verify your email. So it's not going to generate another token. So if I refresh this one, it's just going to pick this token and resend back to me. So let me check the email address now and see if I'm going to be verified again. So let's go back here. See, it has sent it again. So this is the new one. So let me click it again one more time and see what's going to queue to me. Loading, 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 loading. Can you see email verified successfully? Login. So I click the login, I come back to this place. Now this time around I can log in with my credentials. So can you see user fetch successfully? So everything is working perfectly well. That's what I have done. It's going to be pushed to GitHub, and I'm going to push it to Blender and also share the link for people to test it. When I'm through, I will attach it to the video. So thank you for watching. As I'm going to see you in my next video, please subscribe to my channel for more of this type of content. Thank you very much.